Donald Trump's administration is all about intimidation, and as more of his advisors, his supporters, and of course his biggest donor and Elon Musk turn against him, he is only going to turn up the heat on that fascistic intimidation, of course, that we are seeing in Los Angeles right now. Because after peaceful protesters stood up to Donald Trump's invasion, his masked ICE thugs ripping their communities apart, he is sending in the National Guard and now making an insane threat that backfired in a 3 a.m. Truth Social meltdown post that we're going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you want to support our work, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, there have been a lot of updates since I covered Donald Trump's attack on the city of Los Angeles last night. So I want to start with an update from on the ground that we can see in this very scary clip right here.
I know I don't really know how to react to this as a professional, because it's sort of like, what? I'm not laughing. It's like active duty Marines for this. I mean, we were just reporting on it. There's music, the traffic is moving. Most people in LA probably don't even know that this is going on. It's such a big city. And we need an administration that's not going to get to DEFCON 1 every time they see something on TV they don't like. Secretary Hegseth has a tremendous amount of power, and to tweet that out with what we're seeing, active military, is a statement. But let's just put it this way: it's not an operational statement. This is not a statement about what's on the ground. This is a statement about power and the use of force and the use of military in a democracy. I'll let others debate that, but no rational person in my field in Homeland Security would see what we're seeing and think that we're even close to the kind of behavior that Secretary Hegseth is now threatening against a civilian society for protest and some unrest. I'm going to give them that there is some unrest. And so, again, the White House is just lowering the standards for the use of Title X National Guard under what we call federalization. And now in the last 10 or 15 minutes, Secretary Hegseth, I guess, wanted to join the club. But active Marines, that's just unheard of in the kind of situation we've seen. And
So Donald Trump's decision to send in the National Guard without a request from Gavin Newsom was unprecedented, and his now call for the military, him and Pete Hegseth calling for active duty Marines to be sent to LA for no purpose but to scare its residents, is absolute insanity. We have never seen anything like this before, as Donald Trump tries to distract us from so many things going wrong in his administration. And I saw a post last night from Brett Meiselas of Midas Touch, who made a really great point on this idea of distraction, that although Donald Trump is trying to get a budget through right now that everyone hates and he doesn't want us to talk about, the fact that him and Elon are fighting, and this on top of it all, maybe it's not just a distraction. Maybe it's just that Donald Trump is that terrible at being president, which should come as no surprise to us. Maybe they're just multitaskers in their awful activities. But like I said, it did not stop there, because now Pete Hegseth is threatening to send in active duty Marines. Gavin Newsom responded to that last night, and I think it's what triggered Donald Trump to melt down so much in his post. So before we get to what Trump had to say and how it's backfiring, let's start with Hegseth and Newsom's response. In a late-night post, Pete Hegseth wrote that the Department of Defense is mobilizing the National Guard immediately to support federal law enforcement in Los Angeles, and if violence continues, active-duty Marines will be mobilized, saying that they're on high alert. Governor Gavin Newsom responded to that post from Pete Hegseth by saying the Secretary of Defense is now threatening to deploy active-duty Marines on American soil against its own citizens. This is deranged behavior. Deranged doesn't even begin to describe it. These are active threats against American citizens, but we should expect no less from this administration. They have proved time and time again that they do not care about us. They just want to scare us. And that is why we saw Donald Trump completely lose it in the middle of the night after he was spending his time mucking it up at a UFC fight, because clearly he doesn't care about what is actually happening. This is what he had to post, and then we're going to get into how it backfired. Trump wrote, "Great job by the National Guard in Los Angeles after 2 days of violence, clashes, and unrest. We have an incompetent Governor Newsom and Mayor Bass who were, as usual, just look at how they handled the wildfires and their very slow permitting disaster. Federal permitting is complete, unable to handle the task. These radical left protests, instigated and often paid troublemakers, will not be tolerated. Also, from now on, masks will not be allowed to be worn at protests. What do these people have to hide, and why? Again, thank you to the National Guard for a job well done." Now, of course, that post from Trump is insane for all sorts of reasons. But the idea that protesters who are being shot with rubber bullets and tear gas can't wear masks to defend themselves against Donald Trump's fascist regime, but his ICE thugs can and refuse to identify themselves so they can be protected from any legal accountability for their illegal actions is disgusting. It is insanity. Why can't they wear masks, Donald? Why? What's the reason? What could possibly be the reason? So you can hurt these people even more, so that you can scare them, that you can continue to do physical harm to anyone willing to exercise their First Amendment rights against you? This is inhumane, and that is the exact word used to describe what is happening by the leader of Latinos for Trump, who is now attacking the president, and I want to take a look right here. Inhumane. Latinos for Trump founder condemns White House immigration crackdown. A Miami Republican who co-founded the group Latinos for Trump is condemning President Donald Trump's mass deportation campaign and blasting recent immigration enforcement actions as harmful. This is not what we voted for. Actually, it kind of is, said the leader in a statement on Saturday. I have always supported Trump through thick and thin. However, this is unacceptable and inhumane. The public remarks from one of Donald Trump's longtime supporters came as the president's immigration policies caused stress and uncertainty in South Florida. Trump's executive order and the Department of Homeland Security's actions have targeted hundreds of thousands of immigrants in the region, including Cuban and Venezuelans, communities that threw their support behind Trump during the November election, helping him win Miami-Dade County. As top White House aide Stephen Miller reportedly demands 3,000 immigration arrests a day, federal agents in Miami and across the U.S. are swooping into courthouses to detain people and place them in quick deportation proceedings that don't require a judge. Garcia criticized Miller, widely considered the architect of Trump's immigration agenda. She said in a statement that her parents, Cuban refugees, are now just as American, if not more so, than Stephen Miller. I will not back down. I am committing to being vocal and proactive in seeking real solutions, not engaging in grandstanding like Stephen Miller, she told the Miami Herald over text. Yeah, unfortunately, this is what you voted for. You did vote for the dictator on day one that Donald Trump promised to be. You cheered him on, and it is your own fault if you were too stupid to understand this is what would happen. Did Kamala Harris not warn you? Did Joe Biden not warn you? Did every Democrat in America not warn you? I think you got the warning. I think we understood that loud and clearly. But this is not the only news that demonstrates how fed up people are, and I'm kind of shocked with this next story. But we got a scene out of LA yesterday in which Fox News was kicked out of a protest because the protesters there didn't want to see him. I want to get into some other important news, but this is just such a crazy clip. This is how fed up people are with Donald Trump's fascist regime. They know, because it is so abundantly clear that even his state media, the Fox propaganda outlet, is involved in pushing his narrative and hurting their communities, and so they are fighting back against Fox. I don't want to say that, any journalist should be removed from one of these events, but I don't know. Does Fox really feel like journalism to anyone? Not really. It's just propaganda. And it's propaganda that Kristi Noem, less than a year ago, went on to complain about, guess what? Joe Biden doing, I wonder what. Take a look.
People ask me why, when I heard the news, I immediately the next day was at the border. And it was because of what I heard Democrats encouraging the president to do. They were encouraging President Biden to activate our National Guard soldiers so that they would stand down. He actually was going to take control of our South Dakota National Guard and actually activate them so that they would not protect America. So recognizing the real threat that was to states' rights and how that would be the first time in history a president would pay a soldier to not fight, to not protect our country, made me show up in Texas the next day to let Governor Abbott know I'm here.
Kristi Noem was saying that if Joe Biden even considered deploying the National Guard to the Texas border, where Greg Abbott was allowing people crossing the border to drown and die, women and children, that if Joe Biden sent the National Guard to stop the infliction of just a complete chaos, inhumane actions on these people, that would be an unprecedented and fascistic decision. Now, Joe Biden didn't do that. The president did not go forward with doing so. But now, a year later, Kristi Noem is backing the same action and saying it's the greatest thing in the world. For years now, conservatives have been losing their minds about, oh, what if the military is deployed on us? What if they take away our privacy rights? What if they stop our ability to speak freely? And now all of that is happening under Donald Trump, and they're celebrating it. These people never had a grounding principle. They didn't actually care about anything. This is just about power. It's just about intimidation. That should come as no surprise to any of us. It should come as no surprise to any of us. We should stop treating these people with any level of seriousness. This has been the plan from the beginning, and Senator Chris Murphy has been articulating this from the beginning, and I think this clip is an important reminder of that.
Republicans never want to fix the immigration system. Their motivation is always to make it more chaotic and more confusing so that it feeds this argument that they make that we should be afraid of our neighbors. The Lake and Riley Act makes the country less safe. It makes the immigration system more confusing. Why is that? What it does is it subjects a really narrow band of individuals who have been arrested for a small group of crimes like theft and shoplifting, subject to mandatory detention. But what that will mean is that a whole bunch of people who are incarcerated right now for much more serious crimes are going to be let out of jail in order to make room for people who have been convicted of this narrow band of crimes. So yes, an immigrant to this country who is arrested for shoplifting will be incarcerated, but somebody that has been arrested for serious assault will be back on the streets. That doesn't make the country safer. What else does the bill do? The bill puts courts, district court judges in Oklahoma and Texas and Illinois in charge of American immigration policy. It lets one single district court judge anywhere in the country to suspend visas from any country in the world.
From the beginning, we knew what was coming, but it's just making it that much more important. We speak out now. We're certainly going to be doing so. I can promise you on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.